This is CBN NewsWatch.
Good morning. We begin this half hour with cybercrime around the world expected to cost more than $10 trillion this year. Scams and criminal activities have exploded online. Criminals are exploiting one of the most important new technologies, artificial intelligence, and you could be a target. Dale Hurd has more in our top story.
More and more people are getting scammed online.
Recently, my grandpa just got scammed out of his whole life savings.
Just last week, I spoke to somebody who really got scammed.
My wife got victimized in an internet fraud.
AI-enabled crimes are up 456% since last year. Email phishing attacks, identity theft, ransomware attacks, financial scams, and deepfake child pornography are all becoming more sophisticated and prevalent. Artificial intelligence has become the tool of choice for online criminals because it is erasing the line between the real and the fake. Google's newly announced video generator is about to flood the internet with AI-created clips that have the look of expensive films.
None of us is real. We're here because someone decided to write a prompt. We all hate him for it.
AI can take this. Artificial intelligence will supercharge online criminal activity and turn it into this deepfake of me saying whatever someone programs my image to say, and it doesn't have to be true.
I've never seen anything move faster in my lifetime than AI. Not the internet, not crypto, not anything else. And I mean, what we're doing is we're measuring this technology in days.
Former federal prosecutor Ari Redbord is the global head of policy at TRM Labs.
AI has removed the human bottleneck from scams, from cybercrime, and from other types of illicit activity.
America's adversaries are said to be using AI to influence U.S. politics and to steal.
We've seen North Korea. They just stole $1.5 billion in one day to use for weapons proliferation and other destabilizing activity.
Every major American adversary is experimenting with AI.
Leah Siskin is an AI expert at the Foundation for Defensive Democracies.
At the start, the outbreak of the war between Ukraine and Russia was Russia creating deepfakes of Ukrainian President Zelensky surrendering.
It's not very hard to tell that this is a deepfake because at times the voice and facial movements seem unnatural. However, online criminals are already working to fix these kinds of imperfections, says cybersecurity expert Neil O'Farrell.
So if you're looking for those as a way to tell the difference between deepfake and real, you're probably setting a trap for yourself because the bad guys know those are the giveaways. So they're working very, very hard on fixing those telltales.
How can you protect yourself from these scammers? O'Farrell says if you receive a call from a friend or family member claiming to be in trouble and requesting money or personal information, you need to ask questions.
Where are you? What jurisdiction are you in? Could I speak to an arresting officer? Could you hold the phone up, turn on the video, and let me see? I want you, like proof of life. Show me that it is you, and you are where you say you are.
Or choose a unique family code word that's not been sent through the internet, and ask a friend or family member to say it.
Dad, I got into some trouble and I need some money. I need you to go buy a $100 Visa gift card and read me the numbers on the back.
Sure. What's the password? Armani?
I'm not continuing this conversation until you give me the code word.
What worries experts is how artificial intelligence learns, and that AI crime is headed toward what's called its mature phase.
So that's when, AI really completely removes the human bottleneck and is essentially doing the scam activity, doing the cyber attacks, in a completely automated way.
Former Google CEO Eric Schmidt recently issued an ominous warning about AI accelerating toward artificial superintelligence.
This foundation is being locked in, and we're not going to stop it. Because remember, the computers are now doing self-improvement. They're learning how to plan, and they don't have to listen to us anymore. And this is the theory that there will be computers that are smarter than the sum of humans.
That means law enforcement and governments will need to utilize AI tools now to fight this crime wave, which experts say could quickly become an epidemic. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Thanks, Dale. Turning to the Middle East now, media reports today say Hamas rejected the latest ceasefire offer from the U.S. As Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem, their potential refusal allows Israel to continue its military campaign in Gaza.
Israeli troops push further into northern Gaza, warning civilians to get out of harm's way. U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff's ceasefire and hostage deal would reportedly lead to Hamas freeing 10 of the remaining living hostages in the first week of the 60-day ceasefire. In exchange, Israel would free more than 1,000 Palestinian prisoners. A major sticking point, Hamas wants guarantees Israel won't return to fighting after the ceasefire. But Israel's prime minister says he wants the fighting to resume and continue until Hamas is eliminated in Gaza. Meanwhile, the Israeli government has made an historic decision to approve 22 new communities in the biblical heartland of the Jewish nation, Judea and Samaria, also known as the West Bank. This will help block Palestinians from forming a state in this area. And according to Defense Minister Israel Katz, it also provides a buffer for the nation's security. As he put it, Jewish settlement in Judea and Samaria serves as a vital security barrier for Israel's major population centers. We must do everything in our power to expand and reinforce this protective shield. It was the first volley in the government's effort to head off another unilateral move for a Palestinian state by some Western powers, including France. Next month, France's president at a summit in New York City will push for most of the world to altogether recognize a Palestinian state. Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar warned that such a declaration would reward the Hamas terrorists who committed the October 7th atrocities. He added, unilateral moves against Israel will be met with unilateral Israeli measures.
We will not get any dictates from outside with regard to our national security.
This fits with the foreign minister's statements this week that if outside nations push to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state in Judea and Samaria, Israel will respond by declaring sovereignty over more and more of the area.
And Chris Mitchell joins us now from Jerusalem. Chris, how exactly does Israel approving these new settlements help block the creation of a Palestinian state?
Well, Wendy, what it would do, it would create facts on the ground. It would strengthen Israel's claim to the land. And by doing this, we'll have more Israelis living in Judea and Samaria. And it would really make any withdrawal that Israel did about 20 years ago unlikely. And it reverses what Israel did 20 years ago in a place called Northern Samaria. You may remember, Wendy, in 2005, that's when Israel withdrew unilaterally from Gaza and 5 communities in Northern Samaria. That was the so-called Gaza disengagement. It was designed, this is designed to help prevent a Palestinian state. And this is a strategic shift and away from the so-called two-state solution. And the next step, as we said in our report, could be declaring sovereignty over some parts of Judea and Samaria.
Chris, what are Israel's biggest concerns about a Palestinian state?
Well, mainly the concern would be security. And they looked at what happened after that disengagement in 2005. The Gaza Strip became the biggest terror base in the world. And during that time, until October 7th, there were tens of thousands of rockets that were fired from Gaza. And this Palestinian state, if it was in the so-called West Bank, would be in the heart of Israel. It would be close to Tel Aviv, the airport, Jerusalem, and it could become another terror base. And it already is, Wendy, in many places in Nablus and Jenin. And also people see how many Palestinians reacted to after October 7th. They actually supported what happened on October 7th. And if you look at any of the Palestinian media, and you can see that on a website called Palestinian Media Watch, which we've featured many times, it really does show that anti-Israel, anti-Semitic statements almost on a daily basis. And so I think this means that Israel's no longer interested in what was called the Oslo-style negotiations. They really have a belief now that this is a land promised in the Bible.
Chris, there are ongoing reports of worries in Israel about a possible Trump administration nuclear deal with Iran. What are Israel's concerns?
Well, the concerns right now, Wendy, they don't trust Iran. They believe that Iran violated the so-called 2015 JCPOA. That was an agreement to limit Iran's nuclear program. They believe that a bad deal would allow Iran to continue to enrich uranium. And they believe that Iran is committed ideologically and also theologically to nuclear weapons. They have a belief in the return of the Shiite Messiah called the Mahdi. So here in Israel, most people don't believe that diplomacy will stop Iran, and they believe that the military option is the only way to proceed, and the concern that Iran is using these talks to delay while all the while working toward a nuclear bomb, which is an existential threat to Israel.
Sure is, absolutely. Chris, tell us what's happening on today's Jerusalem Dateline.
Well, we have analysis by Middle East experts Eric Mandel. He's going to talk about the U.S.-Israel relations right now. Also, Yigal Carmon. He's the founder of Memory, Middle East Media Research Institute. He's going to talk about some of the dangers facing Israel right now. We also have a story on the Jerusalem prayer breakfast, which is ending today, actually. We had people from 40 nations come to pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and also an address by Ambassador Mike Huckabee, the U.S. ambassador to Israel, talking about why it's important to stand with the Jewish people.
I bet that was a wonderful event. Well, you can see the latest on Jerusalem Dateline. That's tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern on the CBN News Channel. Chris, thank you so much, by the way. You can also watch the show on the CBN News app or on YouTube. Well, coming up, leaders from across Europe met in Berlin for the European Congress on Evangelism. We've got details on that conference. That's next, and you're watching CBN NewsWatch.
Download the CBN News app. One place for all of your news. Breaking news alerts. Watch CBN News Channel live. CBN News, because truth matters. Get the CBN News app today.
Welcome back. In a time when churches are closing and culture seems louder than truth, Christian leaders from across Europe met in Berlin for a special conference. Not just a conference, but a wake-up call. CBN's Brody Carter reports.
Berlin is a city once divided by walls. This week, Christian leaders from across Europe gathered under one roof, united by one mission.
The gospel has power. We're going to reach Europe. We need an army of evangelists. Unafraid, unashamed, unapologetic, uncompromising.
At Berlin's J.W. Marriott, national flags lined the walls, and at the center of it all, a single cross, illuminating what's being called Europe's most significant spiritual gathering since Amsterdam in 2000, and a return to the city where Billy Graham launched his global mission in 1966.
The city of Berlin has influenced the world in every field. What a place from which to shout to the world, Christ is the Savior.
The mission comes as churches close across Europe. Franklin Graham told CBN News nearly 1,000 churches in Germany closed their doors last year alone. He challenged pastors to stand firm and move forward, and pastors are responding to that call.
We have a big job in front of us to reach this generation.
Worship leaders, speakers, and believers came from 57 countries, including Ukraine and Russia, where war still rages. Yet here they stood side by side, united in the gospel.
We want to ignite a fire in Europe to where there's an excitement for evangelism, and the churches are willing to be bold and not ashamed of the gospel. We've got Ukrainian churches coming. We have churches coming from Russia. You know, he said these countries are at war. Yes, they are, but the gospel is more powerful than any of that stuff.
With a renewed mission and shared vision, these church leaders now return home, ready to share the good news throughout Europe. Brody Carter, CBN News.
Still ahead, $18 million a month to run what ended up being an empty shelter. Not anymore. President Trump shut down the border. And now migrant shelters are also being shut down. We have details next. Stay with us. You're watching CBN NewsWatch. Across the U.S., shelters that once served thousands of migrants are shutting down. The drop in illegal crossings is part of the reason, but that's not the whole story. Funding cuts and legal challenges are forcing faith-based organizations to scale back or even close their doors. CBN's Paul Petit reports from El Paso, Texas.
We were peaking at 5,000 crossings a day, so 30,000 a month.
Once overwhelmed with asylum seekers, many El Paso migrant shelters sit quiet, some even closed.
We were one of the last ones to close. It just wasn't beneficial to continue not knowing the circumstances if we were ever going to get more migrants.
Out of 14 shelters once operating here, only 5 remain open. As the U.S. Border Patrol credits tougher enforcement and military support for the results, faith-based groups say their mission hasn't changed.
A lot of the work is just supporting the real sort of fundamental humanitarian needs, but then it's evolved into a number of services as well.
Sammy DiPasquale is the executive director of Ibarra, a faith-based charity that works with some 32 shelters on both sides of the border.
A lot of it's just trying to provide even just human experiences for people, because you can't imagine some of the trauma that people are arriving with.
The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops is phasing out many of its migrant aid programs, citing funding cuts tied to Trump administration policy shifts. It's a concern for DiPasquale since migrants are still arriving and their needs remain.
When funding is taken away by the government, it really impacts everybody because peripherally, if whether it's directly or peripherally, the community is receiving support through that funding. And if that's taken away, then the community needs to figure out how to fill the hole.
Meanwhile, the Justice Department is also pulling grants from shelters and legal aid centers.
Most of these NGOs, in my opinion, that I saw, it became a center for profit for them.
In a recent post on X, Doge reported the Health and Human Services Department terminated a contract that paid a group called Family Endeavors $18 million a month to run what ended up becoming an empty West Texas shelter.
Look at Catholic Charity's got over $100 million in the valley. Rented out whole hotels to put these people in. They would put them in the hotel and you'd go to check up and guess what? They'd be gone.
Another way Texas shelters are being impacted is through the legal system. Right now, Annunciation House is in a battle with the Texas Attorney General, who accuses the Catholic organization of violating state law by helping undocumented migrants here at its El Paso shelter.
It's trying to make an example of an organization that has been at the forefront of this work for over 4 decades, trying to serve the most vulnerable.
State officials say it's about upholding immigration law, while supporters of Annunciation House argue the lawsuit threatens religious liberty.
The intent is clear, to intimidate organizations and local communities so that they don't provide services to migrants. Not only are they going after people who migrate, but they're also going after those who help migrants.
Annunciation House declined our request for an interview as they await a decision from the Texas Supreme Court, one that could profoundly impact faith-based migrant shelters and the ways in which they minister.
So I don't think it's something that we're going to turn our backs on just because of this attack from our state's leadership. We're going to continue to celebrate who we are as a welcoming community in spite of these challenges.
With fewer migrants arriving, a legal fight, and dwindling resources, shelters once seen as a lifeline are closing, raising questions about the future of border aid in Texas. Larry Floyd says he'll choose to focus on the good resulting from their efforts during the crisis.
Whatever your idea is about the border and all the things that have happened, Jesus was alive and present in our center, and we saw it. For over 4,000 of these migrants that said yes to Christ.
In El Paso, Paul Petit, CBN News.
Hi,
I'm John Stolnis, host of the CBN News podcast, DC Debrief. Each Friday, get the inside scoop on Washington politics straight from the nation's capital. Because truth matters. Start listening today.
Welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. The upcoming film, The Life of Chuck, explores the extraordinary journey of an ordinary man who experiences the wonders of love and the heartbreak of life. Here's a clip from the film.
What's in there between my hands?
My brain.
No, that's not exactly what I mean. What's in there right between my hands right now?
I don't know.
All the people you know?
I guess.
Just the people you know? Everything you see. Everything you know. The world, Chuck. Planes in the sky, manhole covers in the street. Every year that you live, that world inside your head will get bigger and brighter and more detailed and complex. You will build cities and countries and continents, and you will fill them with people and faces, real and imagined. You understand? Don't stop there. You fill the whole thing with everyone you ever meet, everyone you ever know, everyone you ever just imagine.
Here's a story sure to make you smile. 2 Brazilian nuns are going viral for sharing their unique talent with the world. Sisters Marizel Cassiano and Marissa de Paula appeared on a Catholic television show called Familia de Amor. The two were talking about leading a vocational retreat when they surprised the audience with a spontaneous musical performance, including beatbox dancing.
Vocação, oh, vocação, oh, vocação, oh.
The sisters say music has been a powerful tool to help them reach young people and those in need by sharing the joy of the Lord with them. Well, that's it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. Also, tell us what you think about the stories you've seen by emailing newswatch@cbn.com or talk to us on Facebook, Instagram, and X, which is formerly known as Twitter. We hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day.